It was a quiet night at the Cecil Hotel. The janitor was alone in the lobby when the elevator alarm broke the silence. He checked the security feed and saw a young woman inside. She was pressing every floor button, whispering to someone he couldn't see. The doors stayed open. She stepped out, looked both ways, then rushed back in. Her hands trembled as she hid in the corner. And then, without warning, she was gone. The elevator started moving again, empty. The next morning, guests complained about strange water pressure and a metallic taste. Maintenance climbed to the rooftop and opened one of the tanks. Inside was her body. The hatch was locked from the outside, the alarms never went off, and the camera facing the roof glitched at the exact minute she disappeared. The footage went viral. Millions tried to explain what happened in those missing seconds. Some saw a shadow behind her in the reflection. Others heard a second voice. But no one could explain how she got there, or how the lid closed on its own. Today, staff say the elevator still moves by itself after midnight, stopping at her floor for exactly 12 seconds before shutting again. If you ever hear an elevator open when you're alone, whatever you do, don't look inside. He worked night shifts driving through the old quarry road. At exactly 2 every morning, his radio cut out near the tunnel. The static always came with a single knock from inside his cab. He told himself it was nothing, until the same sound started during the day, when the truck was parked. He checked every panel, every door, nothing loose. The mechanic found handprints on the inside of the windshield, smeared like someone had tried to wipe fog away. One night he stopped inside the tunnel, headlights flickering on the wet concrete. He whispered into the silence, "Who's there?" The reply came through the radio, faint but clear. "You left me." The truck engine died. The radio fell quiet. But the knocking hasn't stopped. Every driver who takes that route says they hear it now, always at the same spot, always 3 slow knocks. A family on a remote farm in Germany reported sounds above their ceiling every night. They searched the attic with lanterns and found nothing. Days later, their maid quit. She said the house felt watched. A new maid arrived. That same night, the footsteps came back. On March 31st, the entire family vanished. Neighbors found the parents, their daughter, her 2 children, and the maid murdered in the barn, their bodies covered in hay. Inside the house, police found something worse. Someone had been secretly living in the attic. Food was missing. Beds were slept in. Footprints led from the forest to the house. None led back out. The chimney was still warm. Someone stayed there, even after the murders. The killer was never found. So tell me, who was living in their attic? But on May 6, 2013, at 5:52 p.m. in Cleveland, Ohio, a trembling voice made a 911 call that changed everything. You can hear panic in her breath as she says, "Help me, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped. I'm free now." She had broken through a locked door and grabbed a neighbor's phone, risking everything. For a decade, she, Gina DeJesus, and Michelle Knight were held prisoner in a normal-looking house on Seymour Avenue. No one knew they were alive. Police rushed to the scene. When officers arrived, they found Amanda clutching a child, and 2 more women inside the house, shaking but alive. That call didn't just end their nightmare. It exposed a monster living in plain sight. One phone call solved a mystery, saved 3 lives, and proved that hope can survive even in darkness. But Annabelle is the only doll the church ordered sealed inside a blessed glass case, because she didn't just move, she hunted. In 1970, 2 nursing students found her in a thrift shop and took her home. At first she only changed positions. Then she left handwritten notes that said, "Help us." One morning there were red stains on her hands that looked like blood. A psychic told them this was no child spirit. Something inhuman was using the doll as a body. Days later, a man mocked Annabelle, and deep claw marks tore across his chest. Another laughed at her in the museum and crashed his motorcycle hours later. Ed and Lorraine Warren locked the doll in their occult room, built a case from church-blessed wood and glass, and wrote one final warning on it. Warning. Positively do not open. Annabelle is still there. They say she is awake, and she is waiting for someone to set her free. It used to be a normal family suite. until the night a mother, father, and their little girl were found dead inside. No one knows what happened, only that when staff entered, the walls were covered in blood, and a small handprint was burned into the door. They cleaned it, repainted, but every morning the handprint came back. Guests staying next door reported screams through the walls and the sound of a child crying. Housekeepers refused to enter, so the hotel made a decision. They sealed the room shut, bricked over the doorway, erased the room from every floor plan. But stand on the 8th floor today, between 872 and 874, and you'll feel it. A slight chill in the air, soft knocks behind the wall, and if you press your ear against the wallpaper, some say you can still hear breathing on the other side. Room 873 is gone, but what died inside never checked out.
Started with a whisper in the dark. August 1977, Enfield, London. Two sisters woke to wood scraping across the floor. Their dresser was sliding toward them. Then the knocking began. From inside the walls, 3 knocks, silence, then 3 more. Their mother called the police. An officer watched a chair lift off the ground and move across the room by itself. She wrote it in her report. Days later, 11-year-old Janet began speaking in a voice that was not hers. Low, bitter, inhuman. She stared at investigators and shouted, "This is my house!" They recorded it. Experts confirmed the voice came from deep in her throat. Almost impossible for a child to do. For 18 months, people saw toys fly, crosses spin, and Janet yanked from her bed by something no one could see. Then, it stopped. No reason. No answers. Would you sleep in that house?
The evidence room was silent, except for the buzz of flickering lights and Officer Kelly's slow, steady breaths. She worked alone, cataloging forgotten cases, one barcode at a time. Her scanner beeped. Box 119. Inside, behind cracked plastic, a half-melted doll stared back. The evidence tag read, "Recovered from house fire, 1998. The report mentioned voices heard in the flames, but no survivors. Then her body cam caught a faint whisper. Her tablet's temperature dropped from 21 to 5 degrees in seconds. She looked down. The evidence bag was open. The doll's head had turned. The monitor on her desk flickered, showing her live feed. But the Kelly on screen was moving differently, slower, deliberate. The recorded version lifted her gaze, eyes hollow, and whispered, "You shouldn't have opened it." The door behind her groaned, inching shut on its own. Darkness swallowed the room. By morning, box 119 was missing from inventory. No footage, no trace. Only the tag remained, charred around the edges. If you ever find something marked destroyed evidence, leave it sealed.
This recording is taken from a real 911 call placed on March the 4th, 2011. Dispatchers still talk about it to this day. The night was quiet when the call came through. The timer started. 00:01. No voice, only faint breathing and a soft knock like someone tapping from the other side of a wall. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher asked. Silence, then static, then muffled crying, distant and broken. She tried again. Hello, can you speak? The sound meters jumped. A whisper bled through the line, saying, "He's here." The dispatcher froze. "Who's there?" But the voice was gone. The call lasted 3 minutes and 47 seconds before disconnecting. Patrol officers traced the location to an old suburban house on Maple Drive. The front door stood open, swinging slowly. The phone was still off the hook. There were no signs of life. Inside, dust covered everything. No footprints, no lights, no power. The house had been abandoned since 2004. As officers searched the second floor, the dispatcher's line lit up again. Same number, same address. The officer picked up the receiver. A faint whisper came through, saying, "He's still here." The connection ended. The phone line was never reconnected after that night. Yet every year, on the same date and time, dispatch logs show an incoming call from that number, disconnected after exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Some say it's a system glitch. Others believe someone is still trying to reach help from somewhere else. Some calls never truly end. Follow Clips and Loop, real stories. Mystery explained.
At 8:18 a.m. on September 11, 2001, a flight attendant named Betty Ong called American Airlines operations. Her voice was calm, but you can hear the fear. She said, "The cockpit's not answering. Somebody's been stabbed in business class. We can't breathe up here." She was calling from Flight 11, the first plane that would hit the World Trade Center. For 4 minutes, she quietly reported everything. The hijackers had taken over the cockpit. Passengers were bleeding. The crew had been attacked. She stayed on the phone until the very last seconds. At 8:46 a.m., her line went silent. Flight 11 had crashed into the North Tower. Betty Ong never hung up. Her call became one of the most important recordings from that morning. No panic, no screaming, just bravery. She ended with 4 words: "Pray for us."